If you've spent 5 minutes in Poland, you have seen a Żabka, the convenience store chain that is everywhere. And I mean everywhere. If you say convenience store in Poland, that means Żabka. Żabka's rise from a local chain in one city to having about 13,000 locations across the country has made it an institution in Poland. Let's look at the smart business strategies that have made Żabka so successful and the rewards and the dangers, mostly the dangers, for anybody who wants to run one of their stores. That's our focus in this episode of Polsko po angielsku. Welcome back to Polsko po angielsku, the internet's #1 source of information about Poland. Probably, I'm working on it. If we haven't met, my name is John. I am a Florida man, but for the last 2 decades or so, I have lived here in Poland, and so I know what I'm talking about when it comes to Żabka. Now, just for some numbers to establish just how big Żabka in Poland is. Oh, and if you don't know, Żabka means frog. So in Polish, the store is called frog. So yeah, this was obvious in their old logo, but they changed it a few years ago. So yeah, just so you know. Oh, and also before we get into the numbers, Żabka started in 1998 in Poznan, in the city of Poznan, in Poland, and technically, legally, today it is a Swiss pan-European company because of the investors they have behind them. But everybody knows it's Polish. It started in Poland. The boss is Polish. It's a Polish institution. So please, in the comments, don't tell me that technically it's not a Polish company. Yeah, I know, but we're going to treat it as a Polish company because it is. Okay, so by the numbers, I already said that Żabka has about 13,000 locations across the country. That is one for about every 3,000 people in this country. And so compare that to 7-Eleven, the biggest brand in America, and California in particular, where 7-Eleven has more locations than any other state. In California, there's one 7-Eleven for about every 20,000 people. Again, in Poland, one Żabka for every 3,000 people. So about 7 times the density that 7-Eleven has in California. In Poland, the top 4 full-size supermarket chains combined don't have as many locations as Żabka has. And here's a number I really like. This is great. Żabka says that their stated goal in the big cities in Poland is to have a location within 300 meters of everybody, right? So Żabka is saying, we want to be within a 5-minute walk of everybody. I mean, that is ambition. So I'll give you some more numbers later, but let's go back to this 13,000 number, 13,000 locations in Poland. Okay, so this impressive number is the result of a deliberate growth strategy. And it's a reflection of the urban geography of Poland, right? And the reality of how most people live, especially in the big cities. Żabka has become so big by thinking small, by thinking local, by thinking about being close to customers and the places where they live and work. Take a step back here. Look at the full-size supermarkets in Poland, like Auchan and Carrefour. You know, they need parking lots because you drive there, and these places are usually located in shopping malls. And so these businesses, they need a huge amount of space to set up a location. Look at the medium-sized supermarkets like Lidl or Biedronka. They have a smaller footprint, but they still need space, right? And unless you live across the street or very, very close next door to one, you're still going to drive to get there. And so again, they need parking space. So again, they can only fit in certain locations on the map. And that leaves the space where Żabka succeeds and thrives, right? Downstairs from where you live, next door to where you work, right? Again, remember, 300 meters away from everybody. So this is the first part of Żabka's success, focusing on convenience and not size and choice. Żabka is about micro locations, even nano locations, right? Being able to fit where the customers are. You want big, you want lots of products and choices and a full-size bakery and a full-size deli and fruits and vegetables. Okay, fine. Go to one of those other places that I mentioned. You want convenience? Then you want Żabka. And Żabka delivers this by being everywhere. You know, most other chains try to avoid having 2 stores too close together, but that's Żabka's entire business model. Their strategy is about density because their customers live in high density population areas. And so they need a high density of Żabka stores, and density creates dominance. And on top of that, density keeps the competition out. Why let a competitor open in a certain space when you can open there first, even if you have another store already or just across the street or almost next door? With chains like McDonald's, they're very careful about cannibalizing the business of an existing location. But again, with Żabka, cannibalizing your own business is the point. Okay, let's move to the other foundation of their success, getting people to run those 13,000 stores. Because you can't achieve that kind of size and success without the help of a lot of people who are willing to work for you. And that means a system that makes it easy and attractive to become one of these owner operators. But again, in this area, just like with the real estate, Żabka shows that they know what they're doing. Okay, but first, just a quick note. I'm going to describe the system that Żabka uses for attracting these owner operators and get them started. And I'm going to praise them for having such an effective system because it does work. They found 13,000 people to run these stores, and if a vacancy comes up tomorrow and they need a new owner, they will find one without a problem. And I think that's an impressive accomplishment. However, it is simply a fact that if you go online, you can find any number of forums and Facebook groups and other platforms where owners of Żabka stores complain that it's too hard or it's not worth it, or they have these other various problems associated with their decision to become a Żabka owner. So plenty of people are happy. They say it's the best thing they ever did. Plenty of people are really dissatisfied. They say it's the worst thing they ever did. You can make your own decision. But again, right now I'm just talking about the process that Żabka uses for attracting these people and getting them started as a Żabka owner operator. Okay, so first of all, to power their growth, Żabka understands that they cannot require large amounts of investment capital up front. They have to make the bar very, very low to get started. The idea is to make it easy for regular average people to become business owners. And sometimes you can open a Żabka for as little as 5,000 zlotys. That's about $1,400. You don't need prior retail experience. You just have to show Żabka that you have an entrepreneurial spirit and you can manage a small team and you can get started. Żabka provides the space, the furnishings, the inventory, everything you need to get started. As an operator, you don't have to find suppliers. Żabka is your supplier for everything. You get the advantages of their marketing muscle, their technology, including the Żabka mobile application that the whole country seems to have, their brand recognition, their training, everything. You basically get a fully equipped store worth about 350, 400,000 zlotys, and all you have to do is run it. Sounds good, right? In your first year, they even guarantee you a monthly income of 17,000 zlotys that you have to use for employee salaries, taxes, insurance, and other costs. And this is where the conversation turns to the responsibilities and the risks and the problems that you can have as a Żabka operator. You have to find and hire people to work in the store, which is not easy today. And you will need to hire people because as an owner-operator, you are contractually obligated to be open from 6 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. And if you have a husband or a wife that can help you, you will still need to hire people. That's a lot of hours, right? If you have 3 or 4 adult children, okay, maybe, but otherwise you will be hiring people. And remember that being open on Sundays in Poland is only possible if you, as the owner, are working yourself, because employees cannot work for you on Sundays. So have fun. But it gets worse, a lot worse. So first, there's something that I already mentioned about Żabka's aggressive growth strategy and cannibalization. If your store has a good location and sales are good, well, that's great. But Żabka knows that. They know your numbers better than you do. And if business is good, you can be sure that they will open another store very close to you very soon. So good luck. Next is forced inventory and waste. So you are responsible for selling everything that Żabka sends to you. They decide what your inventory is, not you. Let's say they decide to experiment with something that doesn't work. Oh well, you owe Żabka for that inventory. Maybe they think you need 100 sandwiches and you sell 60 of them. Well, guess who owes Żabka for 40 wasted sandwiches? That's right, you do. Same with those wasted, spoiled fruits and vegetables you couldn't sell. Same with the milk products that spoil early. Yeah, your problem. But that's not all. When you take possession of a store from Żabka, you have to sign a legal document called a blank promissory note. Now, this is a very powerful legal document in Poland that it's like a contract. And you're saying that I owe Żabka a certain amount of money, and you leave that amount blank, and Żabka has the right to fill that number in later, to fill in the blank later with a number that they decide. So you're basically saying, here, take this legal document that says I owe you money, and you can decide later how much that is. So if there's any legal dispute between you and Żabka, or any business dispute that becomes a legal dispute, well, guess what? Żabka has this document in their back pocket. They can pull it out anytime and fill it in. They can't lose. But it gets worse. Yes, it does. So Żabka is obsessed with brand consistency, which I guess is a good thing. But what this means for you as an owner-operator is that Żabka sends secret shoppers into the stores to test things, to look around, right? And if your hot dogs are too cold, if your shelves are disorganized, if you're missing some price tags somewhere, if your cashier fails to mention a promotion on a suggested item, you can get fined for this. And these platforms, these forums that I mentioned earlier where owners complain, it's full of comments about how people are losing money on top of their already thin margins. But it gets worse. Yes, one more time, it gets even worse. These online discussions that I mentioned about the various owners that talk and complain to each other, they're also full of comments about the exit strategy from Żabka. What happens when you decide you've had enough, or for whatever reason, you're going to move on from Żabka and you have to close the books on your business relationship because there are various extra costs and fees, arguments about the value of your existing inventory, long notice periods, and more. It is not easy to divorce Żabka. And remember, in the event of any disagreement, Żabka has this blank contract you gave them at the beginning of your relationship that says, I owe you whatever amount of money you choose to put in the contract. And so, once again, like I said, Żabka cannot lose, and plenty of people end their relationship with Żabka in debt, serious debt, sometimes, hundreds of thousands of zlotys. So Żabka does work very well for lots and lots of people. If it didn't, Żabka would not exist as we know it today, right? But you don't just sign up and start making money. It doesn't work like that. Some things to think about the next time you go into a Żabka, which, if you're watching this from Poland, will probably be within the next few hours, 24 hours at the very most. Right, so that's my look at the good and bad of Żabka. Hope you enjoyed it, learned a couple of things. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And while you're here, why not watch one of these other videos from Polsko po Angielsku, the internet's #1 source of information about Poland? Probably. I am working on it. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.